Okay, so you've done most of your CV now, but we've left the hardest bit till last. That goes against all my rules because I normally do the difficult jobs first, but it's not appropriate in this case because actually to get your CV profile together, I think sometimes you need to understand a bit more about who you are, what you bring to a workplace, and you've done that by all the other stages. So this is actually naturally the last bit to do. And even really experienced people who've got years in the workplace find this really hard. And so it's often a part that's omitted from a CV. So if you don't put it on your CV, it's not the end of the world, but you really are missing a wonderful opportunity. So I ask you to persevere. Now, you might want to get somebody else involved in writing the profile. Sometimes I tell people to go and get a colleague or an ex-boss or a family member or a friend to give you an idea about how you're seen by other individuals in the workplace or as a private and personal individual. What is it that you might bring to a workplace that's so valuable? Okay, and now we're going to assume that you have little or no work experience. Maybe you have some volunteer experience. It's going to be very difficult for me to give you an example here, but what I'm going to tell you is just the basis of what you need to think about when you're writing a profile. So it's probably going to be a couple of paragraphs, maybe 3. I think you'd be doing really well if you got 3 paragraphs, and it's going to just summarize who you are. So it's a story, I guess, no bullet points here, but it's just a very simple story. And we don't want to hear things like, I'm a good timekeeper. An employer will take it for granted that if they are paying you to do a job between 9 and 5:30 p.m. with a 60-minute break, that you'll be at your desk at 9 and that you won't take more than your 60-minute break during the day. Okay, so there are things that we will take for granted as employers. If you highlight them and you think that's particularly special, we might find it a bit odd, but I also think it's a bit of a waste of the space. So use the space really wisely. If you know which direction you want to go in, you've decided on a career, this will be much easier for you than for anyone else because it's really easy to say, this is who I am and this is what I want, if you have a clue. But you will be a minority because many young people, and I was one of them, didn't really know what they wanted to do. And sometimes people go into the job, the career that they thought they wanted and find it's not for them after all. And they take a U-turn, go and look for something else. It's become a bit difficult for your profile. So what you're trying to do here is use the information that you've already supplied, your education, your hobbies and interests, and any work that you've undertaken to summarise what sort of employee you might be. Okay, don't say things like I'm a team worker but work well alone. It doesn't mean an awful lot. Avoid using words like bubbly. Bubbly to you might sound like, I want people to think I'm a really nice person. It sounds like you're a big distraction in the workplace and you don't get anything done. So your language here is really important. So what I would do is summarize very briefly what it is that you do, what you bring, something like, so I'm doing this off the top of my head, like the whole video series has been off the top of my head. I studied gaming technology for 3 years. I really enjoyed working in my vacation time for an indie software developer. I've developed an incredible interest for that area of work, and I'm looking for a career. My work experience and voluntary work has demonstrated that, you know, I can work remotely with little or no supervision, that I can deliver on projects within the timescales designated, that my work is accurate, these sorts of things. Okay, doesn't need to be a huge amount. Often I see duplications of what's already in the CV. You're not really looking to do that. You're looking to bring it all together. And it might be that you change the profile according to the job that you're applying for, so that it's tailored. You don't want to be applying for one job with a CV that's got a profile that says you want to do something else. If you're applying for a job in customer services, because that's all that's available at the moment, but actually it's the last thing you want to be doing long term, then make sure you're jolly careful that your profile is tailored towards that job and doesn't say, I'm looking for a career in nursing and you're applying for a job in customer services, because they're a terrible mismatch and you'll be one of many applications and you will be disregarded because the employer will be thinking, well, you've got no interest in this, surely. And even if we got you in now, you'd be looking again in a few weeks or a few months, and it wouldn't be worth my investment in training and development. Get someone to look at this part when you've done it. Make sure that you're not using cliches, that your language is appropriate for the job that you're applying for. It's not too waffly. And if you really, really struggle and you don't think you can do it, if you omit it, it isn't a problem, okay? It's not essential, but it's, as I say, an opportunity missed. So this is your CV pretty much done, but I'm going to do one more video, as I promised, which is the clean up, the clear up. So this is the next final part of the process where you look at your CV overall before it goes out on a job application. And it's a really important part of the whole process. So I'll see you on the next video.